Today we're going to take a dip in the stream. We're going to spotlight the Netflix show Mr. Iglesias, starring Fluffy himself, Gabriel Iglesias, and the Amazon Prime superhero offering, The Boys, with Karl Urban and Jack Quaid. Finally, we're going to introduce our new segment, Showstopping Number, on this episode of The Monitors. Netflix has recently shown more of an interest in saving money. The network that at one time seemed like they would never cancel anything was all of a sudden axing shows left and right, a few of them very near and dear to our hearts. But, well, that said, they're gone. But it does seem that Netflix is constantly trying out new material, and in one of the areas that they seem to be dabbling is in resurrecting the 80s style TV comedy. One such offering is Mr. Iglesias. Anyone who's seen the stand-up of Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias would certainly believe that he could carry a show. His stand-up is hilarious, and despite Iglesias being unquestionably Mexican, he is an American treasure. That brings us to his sitcom, Mr. Iglesias. Netflix has returned to taping in front of a studio audience, which is one of the many things about this show that makes it feel like a throwback. The show is cute. Gabriel Iglesias plays a history teacher who has his name and a few other things in common with him, like a penchant for impersonations and making jokes in class. The rest of the cast is watchable, even if their characters are not all that deep. Sherry Shepard plays his boss, Principal Paula Madison, who probably provides most of the laughs aside from Fluffy himself. Maggie Geha plays the bubbly, perky, but naive and conservative Abby Spencer, who is also a good source of comedy. The rest of the faculty include Jacob Vargas as Gabriel's fellow teacher, and childhood friend Tony, who is the very undermotivated teacher for the school's gifted class. Oscar Nunez plays the annoying Vice Principal Carlos Hernandez, and veterans Christopher McDonald as the throwback borderline bigot Coach Dixon, and grizzled old veteran Mr. Hayward, played by Richard Gant. The students are represented by Marisol, played by Cree Chiquino, who is smart and driven and works like 3 jobs outside of school. The nerdy and quirky Mikey, played by Fabrizio Guido. Conspiracy theorist Lorenzo, played by Coy Stewart. And the kind of introverted and kind of not Mega Brain Grace, played by Gloria Ong. And Walt, the little ginger Fluffy, played by Tucker Albrizzi. Mr. Iglesias is fun. That's the best way to put it. It's not deep, the subject matter is light, it plays for laughs. It's kind of shallow. Period. It's not trying to make a statement or promote an agenda. It's a show that allows everyone to enjoy the comedy of Fluffy and the relatively well-rounded cast. The material is family-friendly for the most part, and once again, it's just simply fun. Check it out. Over on Amazon Prime, The Boys dropped for streaming on July 26th, and is going into its 3rd week. The Boys is adapted from a comic series created by Garth Ennis, which depicts a world in which superheroes not only exist, but are worshipped as celebrities. But unfortunately, many of them, if not most of them, have given in to their flawed, corrupt natures, and the results are often catastrophic, particularly for unpowered humans, though these events are pretty much scrubbed from the media. The titular boys are led by Billy Butcher, played by Karl Urban, who in the series is kind of a merc vigilante with former ties to the CIA, and he has a personal beef to grind against all powered people, but most of all with Homelander, who's played by Anthony Starr, the leader of the Seven, who are the most powerful, prestigious, and probably the most corrupt of all superheroes. Butcher blames Homelander for the disappearance and assumed death of his wife. The boys also include Mother's Milk, yes, that's his name, played by Laz Alonso, Frenchie, played by Tomer Capone, and new recruit, simply referred to as the Female, played by Karen Fukuhara, and finally Huey Campbell, played by Jack Quaid, who is entangled with Butcher, who approaches him about getting revenge when his girlfriend is carelessly ripped apart by speedster A-Train, who is also one of the Seven. A-Train is played by Jesse Usher. The other members of the Seven are Queen Maeve, played by Dominique McElligott, Translucent, played by Alex Hassel, Black Noir, played by Nathan Mitchell, who remains masked and silent for the entire season, pretty much their version of Snake Eyes, The Deep, played by Chase Crawford, and newcomer Starlight, aka Annie January, played by Erin Moriarty. What works about the boys is, well, I mean, we saw Brightburn recently, and superheroes gone bad is a hard premise to screw up. It's also interesting how audiences very quickly make the distinction between bad superheroes as opposed to supervillains. The former is something that we can relate to more in real life, which is actually more the meat of the boys. Often there are many who are supposed to serve public interests and are more interested in serving their own interest. As well as that issue, The Boys does a great job of calling attention to how we deify celebrities in our real society and how corporate corruption is ever a constant. This premise sets up a fantastic metaphor. The opening episode brilliantly drops you into the superhero world with a glimpse of the narrative that we're all used to. Then it flips the script with the brutal murder of one character and the rape of another. Both of these acts are committed by quote-unquote heroes. As the story progresses, we come to find out that the leader and the most powerful of the seven, Homelander, this universe's Superman, is by far the most dangerous. But even the heroes are just pawns of the corporate machine. As we follow newcomer Starlight's induction and incorporation into the Seven, we see her loss of innocence and then growing determination to be the kind of hero she set out to be in the first place, despite the corporate pressure to toe the line. In the series, the face of the corporation known as Vought is Elizabeth Shue's Madeline Stillwell. For me, Shue's performance is kind of the linchpin. Her portrayal of Stillwell is practical. She is a manipulative schemer and she makes no apologies for it, but in her mind it's all just business. She takes no additional pleasure in being cruel, but she'll do whatever it takes to protect the brand. Not necessarily the heroes, but their brand. The boys themselves are a little less interesting. The assembly of characters comes right out of the source material, so they, in and of themselves, are well crafted, but in the series I found their interactions largely lacking chemistry. I also found their constant lack of preparedness a strain on credibility, given that their goal was to take down literally the most powerful beings on the planet. Instead, we got bickering and infighting, which is undoubtedly their way of developing these characters, but oftentimes it fell flat. But they aren't finished telling this story, so there's time to fix that. A Season 2 has been announced, which makes the Season 1 twist and cliffhanger way less presumptuous. At the risk of a potential spoiler here, let's just say it's a big twist. The source material has a definite end, so there is a map to follow. Overall, I'd say that The Boys is one of the more interesting new shows to get into. No show is perfect, and The Boys does have its flaws, but it's definitely watchable. It's one of those shows that's bound to spark a conversation when you're done viewing it. This episode, we're introducing our new recurring segment called Showstopping Number. This segment will highlight a non-climactic action sequence from a film or TV show where the storyteller just, for lack of a better way to put it, just kills it. Today's featured sequence is The Chateau from The Matrix Reloaded. The Matrix sequels have been criticized for being letdowns after the fantastic and nearly perfect original film in 1999, The Matrix. A lot of that criticism is perhaps justified, but there is a lot about those films that are quite watchable, particularly Reloaded. There are a few set pieces in Reloaded that could qualify as show-stopping numbers, but my favorite is The Chateau because it's a true testament to the power of the One. The Wachowskis wanted to up the ante with the martial arts action in the sequels, and instead of just one-on-one action, we see one versus multiple enemies. This was the third time in this movie that Neo fought multiple foes, but the fight clearly demonstrates that he is powerful and virtually unbeatable. The Burly Brawl before it sees Neo fighting multiple Smiths to a draw, which was interesting, but it ends in a stalemate, and there are many sequences in that fight that were quite obviously CG. The Chateau does not have any obvious CG to enhance the fight. It's marvelously choreographed, well-paced, and Keanu Reeves, as well as the other actors, stunt players, sell the fight. And just to give it that extra bit of punch, Rob Dugan's club-style song effectively underscores the sequence. Admittedly, this fight may be a bit dated now, and the wire work is heavy, but for the most part, it still holds up. Now, what do you think? Good show-stopping number? Do you have a selection from a show-stopping number from a film or TV show? Could be animated, could be live action. Please, submit your suggestion in the comments below. Please give us a like if you would, and for more content, please subscribe. Peace.